We are in a position now to begin to create the relationships among all the components that we have here. First of all, we are going to make the rotor end. We are going to make sure that the rotor end is grounded. So we are going to take this rotor end. Let me first of all unground it because it was grounded before, and ground it now. So we do that by saying ground. So the rotor end is grounded. And then we also want to ground the cylinder. Take the cylinder and say ground. Those things that are grounded, in reality, they are going to be part of the engine block, because the moving parts are going to be moving relative to the fixed engine block. The engine block is fixed, and then they are moving inside it. They themselves are fixed to the vehicle. So those two things are part. This part here and this part here will be one big monolithic whole eventually. So now the next thing we want to do is to create a relationship between the crank and that rotor end. So we're going to do that by by as-built joint. So we're going to create an as-built joint. The as-built joint is going to be between the end there and this quantity here. So this crank here. So that is the thing we are going to. And then we want the motion there to be a revolute motion. And it's a revolute motion. So we select the snap point of that revolute motion. The snap of that revolute motion is not easy for me to see here, so I'm going to rotate this thing to a convenient place. Okay. Let me put that off. Okay, so that is, that is wrong. That's wrong. So let us leave that alone. That is wrong. So I'm going to start all over again. I'm going to create an as-built joint. The as-built joint is between the end and the crank. So the snap point here, I'm going to select the snap point to be this. And that snap point is correct now. So, and I'm happy with that. So I say okay. The next thing is that I'm going to create a motion between the piston and inside as well as inside the cylinder. So I'm going to create another as-built joint, and that as-built joint is between the inner part of this and the let me switch that off, and the piston surface. And it is not a revolute, it is a slider. It is the slider joint, and the snap point there. So the only possible motion between those two would be a sliding something there, and that's okay. The next thing I want to do is to create a relationship between the connecting rod and the piston pin. So I will take another as-built joint, and it's now going to be between the connecting rod and the piston's pin is the second thing. And in order to select a snap point, let me first of all isolate them. Isolate them by making the other things invisible. The piston body is, I want the piston's body to go, and I want to be sure. No, not Z-axis. It's not a slider, it's a revolute. Okay, so that's a revolute joint at that point, and I'm happy with that. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to fix the slide to the piston pin to itself. So I want to create another assembly, built joint. So this is now one. The second thing is the piston itself, the piston body. This is the second thing. And what I want between them is a rigid It's a rigid something, and I want to test that. So the two of them are rigidly. So that's okay. The last relationship I want to create is between the big end of the piston and the crank. So I click again, select as built joint, and the bodies, the components involved are the crank, and it is a revolute, and the second thing is the piston. And then I want to select the snap for that. Okay, if we're happy with that, that is that. Now, let us now look at all these things. Let us now try and look at what is possible. Suppose I pick this, remember I cannot move the cylinder and I cannot move the end there. So let us go back home. Suppose I pick this piston and I try to move it. See what is happening here? What is happening here is that we cannot, the only way we can move, the only motions that are allowed between this connecting rod and the crank is revolute. And then here, this one can only move up and down. So, at the end of the day, these are the kinds of things that are possible in this place, because we cannot move this crank away from here, because the only allowed motion between the crank and this end is revolute. So it does not allow any other motion. This one can only move up and down. If I try to move it up and down, it can move up and down, but it cannot do anything more than move up and down. Move up or move down, move up or move down. And that is a case of relationships created among the components that we have. Thank you.